Hello, my name is Kenny Burns and I'm with KB Tours. If you're looking for a great tour company that will give your family a great African American heritage tour of Washington, D.C., then give KB Tours a try. We'll come by and pick you up in an air-conditioned bus. Depending on the size of the group, the buses will be 58 passenger or anything under 36. Now, if it's anything under 36, it will not have a bathroom on it, but we will make bathroom stops. Now, our stops are the White House, the Capitol, the Lincoln Memorial, the Martin Luther King Memorial, African American Civil War Memorial, and the Frederick Douglass House. If you feel that your family would like to take a tour of the Frederick Douglass House, which will take about an hour of your time, you have to make a reservation for that. We try to give you great stories and great facts about Washington, D.C. We'd like for you to go away with a great knowledge and not only the regular history of Washington, D.C., but the African American history. Take Frederick Douglass, for instance. Frederick Douglass was one of the richest black men in America, and when he died, his funeral was one of the largest in the city of Washington. And remember, he didn't die to the 1890s, so we had two presidents that had been assassinated by that time, and his funerals were either equal to the president's or larger. Now, you will be getting on and off the buses. You will be able to go to each site with your tour guide. Your tour guide is very knowledgeable, friendly. We try to make it as comfortable for you as possible. Try to make you laugh a little bit because the tour is really not that serious, but we want you to get the facts. We also will come and pick you up at a time and a place of your choosing. So most people doing the family reunions, their tours start between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. because remember, in June, July, and August, it gets very hot here in Washington, D.C. We like to take you to places that most people don't see in Washington. We really like neighborhoods. Washington is made up of 109 neighborhoods. Most people that come to Washington never go out to Capitol Hill other than see the Capitol. We go over to Anacostia, which is called the eastern part of the city. It was Washington's first suburb. We also go up to U Street to see Howard University. Yes, Howard University is the real HU, started in 1867. We also go past the first theater in the United States specifically built for African Americans, the Howard Theater. And we also will go past the first school in America that was specifically built for African Americans in the United States. And that was Paul Laurence Dunbar High School. It was started in 1870. So yes, come join us. You'll have fun. It'll be an interesting time. Be with your friends and your family. And we'd love to have you. So if you're interested in a great tour, 301-248-6360, kbtours.com. Also, I hope you will watch the rest of this video. I'll tell you a little bit about what we do, a little bit more about what we do. So have a nice day. Looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
We will be driving past the historic Howard Theater. The Howard Theater was one of the very first theaters that was built specifically for African Americans here in Washington, D.C. A native Washingtonian named Duke Ellington also performed at the Howard Theater. Howard Theater was known throughout the United States. Mr. Ellington, native Washingtonian once again, performed at the Howard, and then he later took his talents up to New York to the Apollo. But we never did forget Mr. Ellington. We have this great statue of him right near the Howard Theater called Encore. Now, some of the famous people that performed at the Howard Theater was Nat King Cole with a very soothing, silky voice, and Cab Calloway. We will later on We will stop by the Frederick Douglass House. As I mentioned earlier, if you'd like to take a tour of the Frederick Douglass House, you must make a reservation, and it's reservation.gov, and they'll be more than happy to help you with that. But even if we don't take a tour of the house, we will stop at the visitor center and see a 17-minute video of the life and times of one of the greatest Americans ever, Frederick Douglass. Now, this is a small video of what you would see on the tour. It's Mr. Douglass's study. Mr. Douglass would meet people from all over the world here, and his house was really big. When he first bought it, he paid $6,700 for it. Today, it's worth $1.2 million. Mr. Douglass had a maid, a butler, and a coachman. He was called the Sage of Anacostia. He was also recorder of deeds. He was also in charge of the Marshal Service here in Washington. At one time, he was a city councilman. So Mr. Douglass played a very, very important part just here in Washington, D.C. So you will be able to visit and walk through his house if you get a reservation. We also will stop at the African American Civil War Memorial. This is dedicated to the 209,000 African American troops and sailors. And we also will go through the museum. The museum has exhibits about the Civil War and also struggles of African Americans from slavery up until the civil rights period of today. Perhaps the stop that most everybody would like to see is the Martin Luther King Memorial. This memorial was dedicated in 2011. It was sculptured by a gentleman from China. There's a little controversy about that, but he's the greatest monumental sculptor in the world. And it took quite a few pieces to put the statue of Dr. King and the Mountain of Despair together. So these three pieces, the two pieces that are right next to each other, are called the Mountain of Despair, and where Dr. King is called the Stone of Hope. Hundreds of thousands of people from all over the world will come to see this. There are 14 quotes throughout the memorial. The quotes come from his sermons and his speeches throughout the world. Now, slavery played a very important part here in Washington. If you were African American, you couldn't be out past 10 o'clock. You couldn't fly a kite, couldn't have firearms, couldn't have fireworks. So we go into a lot of detail about the history of slavery in Washington, and we'll talk about Benjamin Banneker. One of my favorite statues is the statue. It's called the Emancipation Statue, and that statue is of a newly freed slave. And you have the Mary McLeod Bethune House and the Mary McLeod Bethune Home. Once again, this is KB Tours, 301-248-6360. Look forward to meeting you and your family. We will promise you will learn a lot and have a good time in Washington. Thank you.